My name's Alex Messer. I'm a fourth grade teacher here at PS 321. I've taught here for 5 years. I've taught third, fourth, and fifth grade in New York City. And this is my 10th year teaching overall. I spent 5 years at a Title I school in Ditmas Park before I was here. People often ask me why I teach. After college, I spent my first 2 years working in fundraising. It was a wonderful experience, but I often felt separate from what I did. When you're teaching, you see it. A child has a problem using break apart to multiply, you work with them, work some more, and then that aha, that moment when their face lights up, they get it. And you're right there with them, seeing them get it. That's why I teach, and that's why I keep coming back. There are high stakes attached to these tests. They're used to evaluate us. They can result in an ineffective rating for teachers, but there's more to it than that. So many teachers, including so many here, we're so professional. We keep it from families. We, of course, keep it from the students. But it weighs on us. It's personal. I'm a proud person. If you know me, you know that about me. So you'll have to imagine my shock when the first teacher data reports arrived years ago. Teachers were rated based on how much growth our students showed on the state tests. I couldn't wait to open mine. Of course, mine had grown. You should have seen them a week earlier at our town hall discussing the ramifications of British economic policy as seen directly during the horrific Boston Massacre. I opened the envelope and I saw something that hurt me in a way words can't describe. 18%. 18%. I was ranked in the 18th percentile of teachers. I didn't understand. I didn't get it. After everything I'd done, all the years I'd worked, this envelope said I was 18%. And that's when it happened. That's when I thought something was wrong with me. If this piece of paper, if these tests were showing me as an 18%, I must be. I called my mom that night, and I called friends. Had I made a mistake when I joined the New York City Teaching Fellows all those years ago? Had I made a mistake when I stayed? I didn't know at the time that it was all tied to some wonky value-added formula with about 20 different components and a 50-plus point margin of error. All I knew was that I had failed. I was 18%. I was embarrassed. That's not strong enough. I was mortified. And so many of the colleagues I hold in such high regard, they were too. And then we learned that scores would be used as a large part of our annual teacher evaluations. And if we didn't do well enough, there would be circumstances under which we could be fired. I called my mom and all 3 of my sisters the night I found that out. And it all led to something that had never happened before. Some teacher friends and I met, and we started discussing options. They'd felt just as embarrassed, some even more so. And the truth is, some of these friends, they're no longer with us in the profession today. Because the sad fact is, this use of high-stakes testing to weed out the bad apples, the bad teachers, it's weeding out the good ones. I started to consider my options as well. I clicked on Monster.com for the first time after so many years of loving what I did, and I actually had a look for some other job I didn't even want, for the sole reason I'd come to feel this job didn't want me. I count myself lucky to be teaching at PS 321. We have such a supportive principal, administration, and community. We've taken steps here to ensure that the curriculum is not narrowed, to ensure that students don't feel the effects of all this, as best we can shield them from it. But I spent 5 years teaching at a high-needs Title I school before I came here. And I have colleagues who teach at an array of different types of schools in the city. Please know, there are many other schools like ours, with supportive administrations, working in the face of these pressures much the way we are here. But there are many that are not. For example, at my prior school, I remember sharing lesson plans I'd spent all weekend on. I was so excited about all the places I'd included aspects that spoke to the range of learning styles in my class. I was dying to hear feedback about how I'd done speaking to the multiple intelligences present in the room. I remember hearing instead the feedback, simply, I love how you embedded test prep in this. For example, receiving praise for coming up with class cheers and chants about the tests, which led a 20-something me to mistakenly believe cheering about being tested is something a 9-year-old should do. For example, the girl in my class, so nervous she threw up the morning of the tests. For example, being pulled into the hallway and told, "Look at this sheet. There's 30 students in your class, but these 4 here, they're low 2, on the cusp of 3. They're the movable ones that will improve our school's score. You should focus on them." Being told to focus on the children who would move our stats, receiving the message not to on those who wouldn't. And there's the colleagues I know from other schools with situations that are even worse, like the one who told a concerned child not to worry about the tests and was told by an administrator, "How dare she? The student should worry. How else could we expect the child to do well?" The colleagues, friends who have left the profession, the ones who have moved down and no longer teach upper grades because of the tests, the ones who will never move to teach upper grades because of them as well, and me, clicking on Monster.com that night, looking for another job I didn't even want, trying to believe the problem was with the measures, but still having trouble escaping that niggling doubt it was me. And that's when I decided I wouldn't let that happen. I'd speak out, as I am here tonight, turn that embarrassment and hurt into something, but not something that would drive me away from what I love. Because I do love teaching. I do love what I do. Why do I do it? It gets back to what I said. It gets back to this: ubiquitous. It's a big word. I personally didn't learn it until 12th grade. I have this thing in my class called Staggering Genius Words. I teach the students middle, high school, even college level words, the ones they're not supposed to be ready for yet, but they are. And they love the challenge of proving that they are. So I teach them these words, and every year when I do, ubiquitous is that big first one, the one that makes them feel so smart to say. I'll tell you this, I don't know what it's like at your job, but you've never seen anything until you've seen a room full of 4th graders thinking they're going home to tell mom and dad and everybody else that they just learned a word they're not supposed to learn until 12th grade. It's almost silly when you think about it on its face, only it's not. Because when you're a teacher, when you're there in that room with 30 kids, when they're learning that word, it happens, that moment. Aha times 30, when everything around you seems to stop, and ubiquitous becomes the most important thing in the world. And there you are, all of you together, chanting some silly word, only it doesn't seem silly at all. There in that moment, ubiquitous seems like the most important thing there ever was, the most important thing they've ever heard, and there on their faces you see it. They love it. And there in that moment, you love it too. And you stand there together, learning it, loving it, all of you together, and it feels, for lack of a better word, simply like love. Love of learning, love of teaching, love of it all. That aha and bright face that you helped make, and you have to be there the next day to help make again. And that's why I teach. That's why I keep coming back. That's why, as much as it weighs on me and others, I'll close my door and do what is educationally sound, educationally right, and count myself lucky to be teaching at a school where I can. And that's why teachers should speak out, share their stories, talk about the effects of these high-stakes tests on us in our classrooms in ways that we can, in hopes that perhaps one day the stakes are lower, in hopes we don't drive the good ones away as we seek to root out the bad, in hopes that no testing, no movement, no decision made someplace far away from here can keep away the bright young things entering this profession, drive out those bright things already in it, ever keep any teacher from getting to have that aha, that moment, that love of their own.